All right, and welcome to Stranded for all the new players listening. You're joined by myself, Poody, your host. We're also joined by a former Legend five-time player, Legend Nofo.
Former Legend?
Well, I meant to say former player. I guess current Legend, former player.
Legend is stretching it.
Okay, well that's Nofo. And then we have Joaquin, who is our most recent winner, but also a 3-time player in Stranded, who has joined us to tell us what it takes to win.
Hello, Poody. It is an honor.
And I think later on in the podcast, we'll be joined by another winner of our most recent new player season, but he's currently peeing or something, so we'll have to wait on that. But we're going to go down the list of strategies, what you can expect while playing, what we recommend, what we don't recommend doing, and just different things from the experience. And there's 3 really good players that you're talking to, and myself, who's witnessed every season, so we have a pretty good wealth of knowledge of what you can expect, and maybe some different styles of play, but in the end, general things to avoid. So I've compiled my list of questions. I'm going to start off by asking Nofo, what do you wish someone had told you before you played, let's just say, your first season?
I would say I wish someone would have told me how immersive and just fun the event days are. Because, you're having an event every day, Sunday through Thursday, a challenge, then immediately after that challenge, you're going to scramble before tribal council. And I really like that because it's not something you experience in other games.
Yeah, because you've played a lot of different games.
Before this, I had never played anything like that.
So what would you say made Stranded different from those other games?
Just how important it is to you to deliver a good product. You have people always in the confessionals. You have people very dedicated to hosting it alongside you. And I think that's not something you see in other games. Not that I had seen.
Wak, what's something that you wish someone had told you before you had played? And in particular, that you have learned now having played 3 times?
With respect to how I play strategy.
Like, what would you tell yourself? What would you tell yourself before you went into a new season? Whatever, strategy.
Yeah. Oh, I would tell myself to chill the fuck out. I don't know. At least the first time I played, and the first couple times I've played games, I had a tendency to get into this hyper, not game body, but just obsessed with winning all the time kind of mindset. And there were certain points in it where it was almost a detriment to how I was playing. But most importantly, when you finally get voted out, and inevitably you probably will, just because there's 20 people and only one person can win. If you get voted out and you spent all of your energy and hopes into winning and you didn't have any fun otherwise, it will leave quite the sour taste in your mouth. So it's a game. You're supposed to have fun doing it. And I've noticed I've only ever played better the more fun I'm having. So
yeah, I think that's an important point. I think for the most part, a new player they'll be a little bit more intimidated by the game, and they're trying to win so hard that they're playing a little too safe.
Yeah, in general, I haven't played as many games as Nofo, but the games that I have won or made it really deep are the games that I've taken the most risks.
Right. And then Ziggy, who's just joined us, is the winner of our most recent season of new players.
Hi.
What would you say you would tell yourself before you went into Morocco, just in terms of advice or things you should know?
Okay, general advice for any newbie, activity is key. I mean, any time you can sign in and just talk to people is just going to be a huge advantage. You don't have to be on all the time. I am a college student. When I play, I have a lot of free time, but check it on your lunch break, check it, whenever you have any free time, just check in, sign and talk to some people. I think activity is a real big help. I would recommend maybe, not that you shouldn't care, but maybe have a little fun when you play. You can really get shit on in some of these games. People can really treat you badly. Sometimes the game does get a little personal, but really you just got to have fun and don't take everything to heart if you can.
Yeah, I think that's another important point that plays into the next thing. Should you play to win or for entertainment. And I think, it's key to remember, like, of course, everyone wants to win and you're competitive and that's why you're playing. But at the same time, it is a game and you don't want to come out of it thinking, oh, I really wish I had been a little bit more risky. I wish I had done a few more things, not just trying to win by playing it too safe. Nofo, what would you tell someone about playing to win versus entertainment? Because you've never won, but you've played 5 times. And I'd say almost every time you've made cover.
Subtle dig.
You should play for what's fun for you. If it's fun for you to try and win and, play the game body role, maybe that's right for you. But for other players, you should, if the over-the-top type personality is right for you, do that. You should play whatever's going to make the game most fun for you. And if you're having fun, we're going to be having fun with you. So I think, that's what's most important.
Yeah, I think too, it's always fun to watch someone who is really good at the gameplay. It's frustrating when someone's not putting forth a big effort to play. Like they're just kind of coasting under the radar. They joined a solid alliance and they think, oh, well, when I get to the end, I can explain my way to the win. Without having really built anything up.
Biggest pet peeve. That's my biggest pet peeve when someone like doesn't do anything and then they think they can, so especially someone who's never played before and they think that they can go to Final Tribal Council and explain away everything. Final Tribal Council is really hard. Like you can't just explain away all that stuff. Like if you did not a lot all game, I don't care how good of a talker you are. Like they're just not going to vote for you. It's just, I hate when people do that. I'm sorry. I had to interrupt with that. It just annoys me, but whatever.
Yeah. Walk, you want to weigh in on that?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, that's like the thing that Poody is calling like the Scooby-Doo tribal council, where like, how the meme where like Fred pulls off the mask and it's like, let's see who he really is. Oh no. If people, it's generally a really bad sign if people go into tribal council and they don't already want to vote for you. Like, it's really hard to change people's minds there. And like, usually like 1 or 2 people's minds change, but you should generally know how things are going to go ahead of time. Like last season, I loved Benji, Spencer, whatever, is that like he fell into this trap where like he thought that he could just explain everything in the end. And then we got to like the coconut shop challenge and he got voted most likely like biggest goat. And instead of that registering in his head as, oh, like maybe I should try switching things up or doing something different. Instead, it was, oh, well, that means everybody will want to go to the end with me, and then I can tell them what everything was really like. And of course, he ended up getting smoked, but
Yeah, it's always an uphill battle going into Final Tribal if you haven't built up things to prove your game. And I think you're not only having to explain people what they didn't see, which is already hard enough because what you don't see, you don't necessarily believe, but also like explain that what they saw was wrong. And unless that's true, it's really hard to explain. And there may also be the case where you're delusional, where you think you're playing a better game than you actually are, which is probably the case for most people, to be honest with you. Like the few times someone's been under the radar, quote unquote, and actually pulled off a win, it was like Shane or Val, who was like one of the best social players. So really, like, if you're going to go for that strategy of under the radar, you had better be an incredible social player. And it's very hard to do.
Yeah, I don't know. People called me under the radar last season, and I was like idling Ziggy out. And I don't think that's like an under the radar move at all. And still that's considered under the radar.
I'd argue that's how you should play an under the radar. He was, for reference, he played like a very, I'd say under the radar, he didn't make too many waves. Then he could have made the option. He had an idol at Final 7 and he could have made the option to just like let someone go and he'd be safe up until Final 5, but he decided to take a risk. He idled me out. And that like led him to a path that allowed him to win, not only get him to the end, but also a path that, he had moves on his resume. You really, if you're going to go under the radar, you also got to make sure you're doing something at the very end of the game. Up to Final 7, Final 8, you really got to start doing shit. If you're being under the radar all the way to Final 3, no one's going to respect you. That's just how these games go. And like, you also were in the position to make that move. Like, I think a lot of people assume, oh, I'm following along with, let's just say, you, Ziggy. I'm following along with Ziggy the whole game, and in the end, I'm going to take him out. But maybe they wait till Final 6, and by then, it's too late. What if you win immunity? What if the people who you're voting with have a different agenda? So really, I think what was great about your move that secured your win was that you were able to do it before anyone expected you to. That's number one. And number two, you were able to understand what was going on in the game enough to
to make that move happen. Like you knew everyone was going for Monica, so you were able to play that idol correctly. Whereas if you're under the radar to the point where no one's talking to you, you're not going to know where people are voting. You're not going to know what the real plan is. So when people tell me in their application, I plan on being under the radar and making a big move to win, that throws up a red flag for me, because it shows like you're not really, I wouldn't say that you purposely were under the radar. I'd say you were waiting to make your move by studying what was going on, getting your ducks in a row, and then making that move, not necessarily just waiting along and letting Ziggy make all the moves and not doing anything, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, so long as you're not doing nothing, it's so easy to do nothing in a game of Survivor. Like you really just have to make sure you're doing something. Because people won't respect you, and like you won't have fun. You won't be respected or have fun. Like if you're stressing about how people perceive you all game, and you're not doing anything, it's like you're just going to come out of this being like, "Oh, this was a horrible experience. Survivor's not for me." You got to have a little fun. You got to do something that's exciting. I mean, you wonder why these people like Ben or what the fuck's his name? The guy who wanted Chris, like you're wondering how these people win. You're like, oh my God, they're so horrible. All they do is play idols and make these big moves. Why is everyone so obsessed with big moves? Well, like that's all the jury can see. All they can see is tribal council, and all they can see is, you know, their interactions with other jurors. It's you really got to do something to impress these jurors, and Under the Radar doesn't always do that.
And what you have to remember is everyone thinks that they're the best. Everyone thinks that they're playing the winning game. So like when you go into Final 3, you're going up against two other people who say, "Hey, I was the one calling the shots. Hey, I really had the best plan here. These two guys were just following me." You know, so everyone's the hero in their own mind, you know. So you have to kind of remember that too when you're playing. Nofo, you've played more than anyone here, and you've also seen more seasons than anyone here. What would you say is the most common pitfall for a new player?
I think just falling behind in communication, not keeping up with their PMs and IMs, and just falling out of touch with people, so people kind of forget they're there and they just don't have an idea of where they are in the game, where their head's at, and those are the people you're going to take out. And if you're not showing up to challenge and you're not pulling your weight, they're not going to have any reason to keep you in the game.
Yeah, I think that goes along with what everyone's saying about like having fun in terms of not focusing so hard on winning, but also being in the moment and playing a game like it's meant to be played. It's meant to consider different strategies, not be rigidly focused on one path and, you know, just playing it safe the whole time.
You should always play hard. You should always play as hard as you can. Just play your own way. Don't play how people tell you to play. Don't go with what we're saying just because we're saying it. Do what you want to do and play hard and play for what's going to be fun for you. But just make sure you're giving your best effort into it.
Yeah, I agree. Effort 100%. I you know, he's right. It's not, don't just go over the top because we want you to either. If you're that easily convinced, then you are already a goat at that point. You know what I mean? If you can be convinced by this podcast, you should do whatever you want. I agree, just so long as you're having fun. So please have fun.
I think effort's key. If you're under the radar, but you're constantly thinking up plans and talking to everyone, that's going to show, and that's something that you can point to. It's just make sure you're actually doing that. Putting in the work, I think, is key. So what's this experience like? I guess when I wrote that question, I was thinking in terms of your emotional experience.
Oh dear God!
What's it like?
Oh,
I know you've all had. I think everyone in Stranded pretty much has had an emotional experience in terms either really high highs, really low lows.
It's been a different experience every time.
I agree. It's you'll go through every range of human emotions in a span of about 30 days. It's like I've been so angry. I've cried during this game. I've laughed. I've made friends that I still talk to this day. You really get every slice of emotion that you can out of the human experience, and all crammed into a short, stressful amount of time. So it can be a lot, and don't be afraid to take a break every once in a while. You know, cool off after a tribal if it gets a little heated, but it can be a lot. So just prepare yourself for that.
Yeah. My wife played maybe 4 seasons ago. So I want to say recently, but it's not that recent. And before that, I think she's not even a Survivor fan. So she was like, I think doing it to kind of humor me, but also like be a part of something that I love. So she played. And I think at first it was kind of like a meme for her to go over the top. And then slowly, like, she started to really like people. And then she also started to really hate people. And everyone who knows Julie, like, she has a very short temper. So I think, in the middle of the game, she's screaming at someone, fighting with them in the middle of something. And then by the end of it, she's crying over someone else getting voted off and talking about quitting. And then, she finally gets voted off and she was like, thank God I'm voted. Like, she was at peace with it because it's so exhausting emotionally by the time you get to the end of it. But then you want to play again. It's the most bizarre, sadistic.
These games are very odd.
It's hard to describe.
Like last season, I was only in it for 10 days, 11 days. And after a certain point, it was just so exhausting. Like, I was just so frustrated every single night. And
particularly the All-Stars are particularly brutal. He's talking about last season, which was an All-Star season in disguise. But, he was saying, I honestly, the 10 days you were there, I thought it was 30. Like, it felt like 30, to be honest with you.
That's what it felt like to me playing it. It felt like I was there forever. It felt like I played a whole season because it was just, it was nonstop. And after a certain point, I was just so frustrated. And I was so ready to go home. I wasn't even upset that I got voted out. But as soon as I did, I was like, okay, Poody, when am I coming back? When am I playing again?
Yeah, I think for new players, it's different. Like, I think your first time playing Stranded, it's so much more emotional. Whereas the second time is still emotional, but it's more like exhausting because everyone's playing 100-mile-an-hour game. But I think that first time you have such an experience that you can't recreate. Ziggy, I think you had one of the craziest arcs and you were in the lead like the entire time. So like there's no reason you should have had that arc, but you just can't escape it, I think, in the game.
They're crazy games, and like it's the more you play them, especially with Stranded. And I've played a lot of other kinds of games, like I played a lot of Discord games, and they're not really even close, especially emotionally. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of the alternate identity and you're like putting yourself into these like faceless people, but you're connecting with them so much. It's a very odd experience, just that alone. And then you mix in that you got to betray these people or you got to work with these people. It's a different experience than anything that, especially for a first time player, anything that you'll have experienced in your life. Honestly, it's a rush. It's a very big rush.
I think it's the mix of how much effort you put into it. You're going to get that back from other players. It's just so much harder than other games. Everyone's, giving it their all, and it's exhausting, but it's so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, it's like running a marathon, but emotionally. It's everything. And really, it's hard to describe, but it also gives you another unique perspective on the show. Let's move away from the actual experience of the game and talk about like the technical side. And so I think, Walk, you're
Thank you, Poody. No offense.
You're perfect for this, Walk, because you actually, I've handed over the idol portion because I'm more of a creative, but Walk is definitely our research analyst for creating the idols, creating how they're hidden. So explain to someone who's never played Stranded how you would hide an idol and what they can do, what they can expect an idol to be like in Stranded.
Yeah, so basically, the whole game takes place on the forum, and there's going to be a forum that you can get into only by a locked password. So that password is going to end up being something related to the theme of the season. So usually that's like a country or something like that. And so we'll hide the idol. Usually it'll be like a word on a Wikipedia page for something that's related. So that can either be that name or something, or the alternate name of something. You'll get clues, either one at a time or twists, or who knows. But basically, there'll be clues that'll hope to give you direction towards what that word is. And once you find it, you'll gain access to the forum, and we'll say hidden immunity idol, and you'll get it. If someone has already found the idol, we basically change the password to like a key mash of just like a bunch of random characters to kind of simulate like actual Survivor. If someone finds an idol in a tree and you go out to search for an idol yourself, you just like won't find one. So it's a very similar experience. Yeah, does that about cover it, Poody?
I have a question. Can you tell me, do you think it's likely that someone could find an idol without a clue?
No, there's no chance you'd find one without
exactly.
a clue.
And tell me could I just search up like one thing and one Wikipedia page and then I'll instantly find an idol, or what?
No. Oh, well, one thing I didn't mention is it's not like there have been games that I've played in the past where you get one guess per day in like a confession or something like that. That's not how this works. You get unlimited guesses into this forum, but if you get unlimited guesses, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be like, what was it? Like last season was about Australia. So it was about like some obscure, the one that I found was about some obscure desert. And it was like the native name for it. So there's no way that like without a clue that you're just going to just happen to check every desert page because you think it's going to be there and type in that's not going to happen. So yeah, you're going to have to get it from the clues.
And like Wak is he's done this so many times and he's so good at it now. He'll tell me, how many clues do you want it to be solvable within? And he'll make them so that if I say I want it within 3 clues, someone can find it. He'll make it so that you have to get that 3rd clue to find it. And he'll know exactly how to do that. Whenever I design an idol, I'm not close to that accurate. It's kind of just I'm either like super easy or super hard. But Wak's pretty good about he knows exactly what your path will be to find the idol, and he'll lead clues along that path to try to get you in the right direction. So, it's not going to be on the first Wikipedia page. That's number one. And then a big part of idol finding is that keep assuming it's not found. I think a lot of people give up thinking it's already been found, which is part of the mental anguish. And unless you know for sure what the answer is, it's probably not been found. And sometimes people think that they are sure and they're wrong. That's enough about idols. Tips on a social game.
I think that probably one of the other things is very close to how it is on the show. And it's also one of my favorite things about Stranded. Because like Joaquin said, it's very different from how other orgs do it. You can keep at it and you can keep working at it. So it's something, last season, Stranded, I stayed at it for like 3 hours, like a couple nights in a row, trying to find it. And, once you finally find it, it's this sense of accomplishment, which you don't get from other orgs. And I think that's one of the things I like about Stranded.
100%. It really does feel like finding something powerful. And it's like, and I actually think it's a little different from the show, just because I feel like in recent seasons, you really don't have to work too hard to get an idol. You just run out around in the woods. I feel like it's more like classic Survivor, in that you have to really work to get these idols. And they try and limit them. Usually in my experiences in Stranded, they've limited the amount of idols. It's not like you'll have like 3 at the final 5 or something like that, unless it's very, very unlucky.
Yeah, and we try and Stranded not to go cheesy. Like, I think a lot of our twists are ahead of the game, but we're not so far ahead that it's a different world. Like, we try to keep it grounded in reality of, okay, what could we see on the show and what would make a good experience, not just throwing every twist in the book and seeing what happens. So, even with idols, sure, we may do twists or we may have different advantages or other things that you've seen on the show, but we're trying to be as refined as possible, not having too many things in the game at once, making it so it's not just whoever finds the most advantages wins in the end. There's a balancing act to it. But anyway,
at the risk of coming off like an asshole, can this not turn into just like a why everybody should play Stranded Fest? Because I feel like, Poody, you said this is about like tips for first time players who, like, I'm assuming this is going out to people who have already been cast. Like, I don't think they have to be convinced that this is going to be like interesting. They already agreed to sign up.
About us, we also don't need to talk about us all the time and how we played.
I think
but that's fine.
I think this is going fine.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, it's pissing me off, so fuck all you.
Yeah. So next on the list, I have, what are tips on a social game? We talked about, making sure you talk to everyone, but go into more detail on that. Like, I know for a lot of people, they don't necessarily understand what that means when it says, don't just like message someone, hey, or give short answers, what's a good social game?
In my experience, a good social game is really just connecting with someone on like a human level. You just really just talk about your life, talk about their life, ask them questions. Whenever you can, ask them a question about whatever, like how their day went or what they enjoy, and try and actually learn something about the people around you. Because more likely than not, you're actually going to become friends with these people. More likely than not, you're going to talk to these people after the game even. And you're going to...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, he's saying, let me write this down. You're taking tips from probably one of the best social players we've had, but even like Legend Nofo are some of our best social people. So like these are very good people to be asking about social tips from.
I like to have a number one at all times when I'm playing Stranded. I like to have someone I can rely on and
Me too.
To kind of just bounce off and bounce ideas off of. And when they get voted out, just find a new one.
For sure. Your game doesn't end. Yeah, that's another point. Your game doesn't end when one vote doesn't go your way, the game doesn't end. As much fun as it might be to like completely isolate yourself after you're in the minority once, I definitely wouldn't recommend that.
An isolated
Honestly,
blood.
it's sometimes isolated 5. But yeah, you really just got to keep playing as hard as you can after something doesn't go your way. And not everything's going to go your way just due to swaps and luck. So,
Yeah, Joaquin,
don't isolate
your
yourself.
first season, you had a solid alliance of some of our biggest characters and players, and they were both voted off kind of early in the merge, and then you went on further in the game. What would you tell someone about, I would say, making alliances outside of your close friends?
I mean, that all goes back to kind of like what Ziggy was talking about at the beginning. I think going back to like traps people fall under is like under the radar does not mean inactive or like not social. That like even the people who play under the radar are amongst like the most talkative people, and you should like, you don't have to be friends with everybody, but you should be on like talking terms with everybody. I went into that season with the goal of being able to, nobody would like truly hate me enough that I like couldn't say anything to them. There's something to be said for being hated that's like fun too. We're talking in the scope of trying to win. That's my like biggest trap that I always advise people. Like under the radar does not mean does not log in or like doesn't talk to people about voting or anything like that. There have been a number of people who are so over the top about like making sure that they're not appearing like they're online too much or not seen doing this and that. In my like 4 or 5 years on here, I have not once seen someone be voted out because they were online too much. Like,
I agree.
I've not seen someone voted off early, maybe ever, for being too aggressive too soon. Like, I don't think it happens.
Oh yeah, you would be shocked at how aggressive you can be early, and people will just like go along with it.
I mean, I think, yeah,
For sure.
I think when you first play,
I mean, not to talk about myself, but Ziggy and I saw that last season was.
Who are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Pia.
Talking about Brooke? Oh, Pia? Oh my God. You're talking about Rob?
Yeah, you can talk too much, but you know, people.
Well, that wasn't an activity level. That was because that was another thing. They revealed too much very quickly. That was what I was saying. They told everyone that they wanted to come after me, and there was like an inactive person that we were just going to vote out. And it was like, they were like, what are you doing, bro?
but also like Pia was not the first one voted out. What I'm saying is like,
Not at all.
you know, I think people put too much credit in, I don't want to be seen as the leader. While that's true at certain aspects of the game, like it's very rare that a leader will be voted off first. And it's very likely that someone who played it a little too safe on that first vote will be targeted because you need to get in quickly with good people. So it's important to kind of like put yourself out there, make sure you're talking to people, maybe suggest.
Don't be afraid to talk game.
Yeah.
So yeah, suggest an alliance. Don't be afraid to talk game. I'm obviously don't DM everyone, hey, let's start an alliance within the first 8 minutes of the game. That's like an obvious no. But I mean, after you've had a good conversation with someone, as soon as you feel good with someone, it's time to just ask, like, start talking game with them. Don't be afraid. That's how the game works. You feel good with someone, you just start talking game with them. That's how I've always played, at least.
You don't want to be late to starting that kind of social game and playing a strategic game. You want to do that pretty early on, just maybe not within the first couple hours. Because Stranded, it really is, it's like a sprint immediately at the beginning. You want to be on like the first night and you want to be talking to people because you can get behind if you're not active at the very beginning.
Yeah. And I mean, going into our next question, which is about new players versus returning players. I think we get so many people who say, look, I wish I could play again because I would play crazy. I gotta be honest with you, like if someone overplays and flames out early, I'm probably gonna bring them back. Like let's be real, like that's a definite strategy is, hey, I want to play this a lot. You can play for entertainment. Like that's a key. I don't want to undersell. I don't want to push everyone to play.
Don't tell them. Yeah, don't tell them to overplay and go out early.
I don't.
But if you do, we will ask you back.
So let's be real. Like
did you when I was Stranded? He told me he wanted to see me over the top in All Stranded.
Well, this is the thing. It's a valid strategy to go into a game playing a heightened version of yourself. And like we want realism and we don't want people playing a shtick and we don't want, bullshit. But if you want to go out there and play crazy and up your personality, that's a valid strategy and it's hella fun. Like
very fun.
we will root for you the whole way. So like, I'm not afraid to tell people like, hey, if you want to do that, we would encourage it. I'm not saying let's make everybody do that. Certainly we want people to be themselves too.
Yeah, it'll be boring if we're all fake. So if you can't do that, just don't even bother. But like, if that's a way you have fun, then please do it.
I mean, I would say when I play a game, I found out early on, like when I try to be serious, I'm a paranoid wreck and it doesn't work for me. But when I lean into my personality and go over the top, I play a lot better because people, number one, don't expect me to be a good player because I'm so insane. But number two, it's more fun. I get more invested and I just become this other version of myself, which is a reality. It's a part of me, but maybe it's a heightened part of me. I don't know if that explains it well, but that's a valid strategy is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and don't play over the top if that's not you. You want to be yourself at the end of the day. Of course, you're putting on this kind of character, but you can't go that far away from yourself. When I go crazy, that's inside me. It's just something I don't really let out until I'm in the game. And that's when I have the most fun, when I'm being crazy, when I'm fighting the host over a call. And, when I'm making big moves at tribal council just for the sake of it, that's when I have the most fun.
And just like a side note on that, along with that, how we're all given reps. Don't feel any need to be anything like your reps. If your rep is over the top, you don't need to be over the top. Like if you're like Alec or something, I don't know what season we're using reps for, but if you're getting a rep that's
from that season, don't think you have to play as Kellen. Survivor.
Exactly. And you don't, if you're a boy and you're playing as a girl, or if you're a girl playing as a boy, or they or whatever, you don't have to act like them in any way. You're your own person, and you should really try and make your character unique to you, in my opinion. It makes it a lot more fun if you take away these preconceived notions. The whole reason we give you these reps is so that you don't have any notions about your other players. So don't judge these reps for what they are, who they are. Play how you want to play.
Yeah, and I think, this isn't Survivor. We're not face-to-face with someone. So it is an opportunity for you to play up a different side of yourself. Maybe you're not super social in real life, but this is an avenue for you to let some of that go. Maybe you're not very assertive in your real life, and this is your way to live that out, see how it is to be assertive. I think that's a big part of the alias, too.
For sure.
So that's all we have on... Those are all my questions. I guess a closing thought for everyone before they head into the new season. We'll go down the line. So I guess Nofo, start us off.
No. I'll go next.
Okay. Ziggy, you like to talk.
I love talking.
What's your closing thoughts for everyone?
Just remember, this is for $100, so play to win. Straight up, I obviously have fun. Play to win. Not that winning is everything, and it's not $1 million like Survivor, but there is money on the line. So if you're playing just to be boring and sit there and just try the experience, I don't know. Just have fun, try and win. That's all I gotta say. It's $100 on the line here.
Nofo,
leave it at that.
I like bad players more than good players. So if
me too.
That's honestly more fun. So just be as messy as you want to be. Don't think you have to play a good game.
We're all watching, laughing at you, making podcasts about you. So it's fun. And then next time you get to make fun of all the newbies making your mistakes.
Yes, if you don't stick around, we will hate you.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
We'll probably hate on everyone equally. So
that's true. I hate everyone.
Don't take it personally if we're mean about you.
Yeah. Okay. Joaquin, your closing thoughts for the new players?
I don't know. It's all been said. Leave it all out there. I don't fucking know. Have a ball. Or don't.
Have a ball.
Yeah. If you couldn't tell by now, we're a crazy group. We cast big personalities. We also have really smart people among us. They are among us somewhere.
Very, very few and far between. They're not here.
We do have PhDs. Not that that's a qualifier, but we're an accomplished big personality group. We're looking forward to bringing in the next group. Just remember, everyone there is going to be there to play. We make sure of that before we put someone out there. So have fun, play hard. Like Wak said, leave it all on the field. Be sure you have played without leaving regrets of wanting to do things better or wanting to make a move and not having made that move. If you have that gut feeling, go for it. That's what I would say. All right. So that is our preseason tips and experiences for new players. We look forward to having you in the Stranded family. You've been forewarned that it's insane.
Yo, Stranded family, we're not like the fucking Mansons or anything.
I would say we're more like the Mansons. I'd say it's closer to that.
We're the Mansons, but we haven't actually killed anyone yet.
Yeah, that we know of.
We're just in our petty burglary type phase right now.
Yeah, I would say like we're like the Mansons, except our goal is not peace and love. It's like the opposite. It's disharmony and drama is our goal.
We're working on minor crimes. We're trying skinning a couple animals, and we're working our way up.
We're fans of reality TV. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, instead of taking LSD, we just like watch the challenge over and over again.
Pretty much. All right, well, that's going to do it for me. Poody out.
Thank you.